what I'm saying is true. Will you rub my head and make it all shiny and new?
Look, I guess ultimately the reason I picked these songs at all is because I already had some, relationship to them. They had already affected me on some level. I was already in love with the words. Even if they're things that are relatively simple, like I want to break free. I mean, the words to that are like really, they're pop lyrics. It's very simple. But at the same time, it just hits you in the gut because it's such a strong sentiment. I mean, who can't relate to I want to break free? That's why it's such a fucking genius song. My own lyrics are, they're much more cryptic and much more metaphorical. Like I'm very into science. It's a great interest of mine, or stuff that at the moment is science fiction, but will, soon be science fact. I'm fascinated by all that stuff. I guess I like to incorporate that somehow into my songwriting. What you end up with is almost like science fiction songwriting. The vast majority of music and lyrics are based on the past, someone's reflections on an experience or something that happened. You did this to me, this is how I've been feeling. It's all past tense, and it occurred to me that you don't hear many songs written set in the future. So I started to just kind of do that. It sounds nuts. It's still something that you can somehow relate to. Feelings of, fear and anxiety, and that maybe things aren't as they seem. Maybe you're not who you think you are. It's just sort of fun to introduce that into music. Yeah, I guess my last record, the things like Out the Airlock and Ramona Was a Waitress, they're very inspired by, like futurists like, Ray Kurzweil and it's, yeah, I don't know if it's a good idea or not, but it's, it's what I'm doing. Heaps of people immediately pointed out the, glaringly obvious fact that it's not a shotgun on the cover. And I thought, if I'm going to do an album of covers, then the cover should be a cover as well. The front cover of the album is my cover version of a cover of a book called Songs of the Doomed by Hunter S. Thompson. I've always loved that photo of him shooting at his typewriter. So my cover version of that, it's like me doing battle with some of my favourite records. Yeah, the cover is a cover of a cover. Look, I have to admit I'm starting to get a little wary at this point of how much covers are becoming a thing with me. I'm working on writing another solo record, so yeah, I'm going to pull back from the covers a little bit, I think. I'll still always toss a couple into a show because they're fun to do. At the same time, it's an open-ended idea, and I'm sure that there will be a Shotgun Karaoke Volume 2 several years from now. And, and I reserve the right to go into my backstage room and bang out a cover and put it on the internet. Bing! But yeah, I am getting a little like, okay, I don't want to be covers guy for too much longer. I've thought about this a little bit. Why does everyone in the media seem to think I'm, this miserable character? I guess at the end of the day, I can only blame myself. It would be stupid for me to sit here and say, "Oh, nobody gets me. Why don't they get it?" It's obvious. It's not their fault. We unashamedly make music that has a very raw emotional core. Some people seem affronted by that, like it's not cool. I don't care. In the words of the Descendants, I'm not a cool guy. I'm not a cool guy anymore. Something for Kate, doesn't win popularity contests. We never have, and we probably never will. And we just do our thing. A certain portion of the population, connects with it, and that's lucky for us. We're about to celebrate 20 years of doing what we do. There was definitely a period where it was like the spotlight was kind of on us, and it's sort of just... But I was sort of wary of it even then. It sort of really just felt like our time had come, and then our time would pass, and it did. But it doesn't matter because people come to our shows and buy our records. When you're on stage playing to a crowd and you just see the faces, but it's amazing to share something with a room full of strangers. and you walk away from it feeling great, and hopefully I think the crowd does as well. So.